finalized on November 3rd, which is perhaps different than what we're used to in previous years. There will likely be disagreements about which ballots should be thrown away and for what reason. We've seen lots of court cases happening in this in many swing states around the country, and there's a chance that certain decisions around the election will take place in the courts.
I think we're going to start with our election simulation timeline to a meltdown today. Is everybody ready?
We're going to read out a brief scenario and then develop a plan based on that scenario.
So the teams are loosely based on.
These are the groups of citizens that are working against the American people, and they are American citizens.
We have capital destruction.
Lincoln Project Senior Advisor Michael Steele was a leading figure in the Transitional Integrity Project, the source of the predictive models used to wargame out how to secure a Biden win.
Group number 2, the Nixon Project. The floor is yours.
Our strategic point of intervention, because we are prominent Republicans, we are first going to approach the mainstream media and to also lean into our networks that we will use positions of corporate prominence to lock out all Republicans, including those on the Trump team, for future corporate jobs, media interviews, etc.
They practice with participants ranging from activist federal employees in senior executive services positions to protest agitators.
Everything from choose democracy to hold the line, to shut down, we count on us. I listed a few of those in the slides earlier, but they're the ones who are really in the vanguard of helping people think about, interpret red lines, and think about different actions that can be taken well beyond kind of street protests and demonstrations.
I'm going to go in thinking Antifa is going to be in coalition, but doing its thing and being on the radical end, but part of the package.
Making sure that we're naming what is happening as a coup.
Totally agreed. In the BC conversations that I've been having with that on the federal side, we also are often saying, like, call it a coup, it's a coup. Don't let anyone tell you it's not.
From bureaucratic slowdown tactics to agent provocateur tactics, they were working together in unison towards a common goal: a Biden win regardless of any one of the 4 possible scenarios.
We should be clear, just gotta go. Trump's gotta go.
Throughout the fall of 2020, predictive headlines about Trump staging a coup during the election started circulating. Headlines were predicting Trump plans a white supremacist coup against a Biden win.
What the president is doing here is the most explicit that he has been about his plans for this election. He's plotting in open and public repeatedly a coup.
Leftist organizers were planning their so-called counter-coup against President Trump. How were they able to plan against a coup that hadn't happened yet, based off of an election result that no one would have predicted, yet miraculously they knew which states were going to be contested? Wow, how amazing. How did they get the precise election results they needed to match their predictive election response that they've been planning, practicing, and role-playing?
Okay, these people have been planning this for a long time. They planned 2020, they had it all ready to go, they knew exactly what they were going to do. They profiled everyone, they knew who was going to stand up, and they had plans. They had working the entire thing out to take everyone out. J6 absolutely was total setup. They came to my house, the FBI came to my house on January 5th, the day before, showed up at my doorstep asking why I had a We the People banner on my Facebook page. And they asked me and I talked to them on my Ring doorbell because I wasn't in Colorado at the time, and they knew exactly where I was. But they were at my doorstep in Colorado asking me what I thought should happen the next day. Isn't that interesting? On J5, the day before, the FBI is asking me, what do you think should happen the following day at the Capitol? They tried to ask me that question probably 4 or 5 times. They wanted to get a soundbite from me. They wanted to most likely claim that I had something to do with the little show they put on J6. Because they would have loved to have taken me out. But what I told them, every single time they asked me, I hope people peacefully and patriotically let their voices be heard. That's exactly what our president at the time asked us all to do, and I kept repeating that over and over and over again. It was a show to manipulate the perception of the American people, to solidify a stolen election, to demonize every one of us that dared to question it. That's why they called us election deniers, suffering from election denialism. Okay? It's psychological warfare. They are lying. They run on lies and deception, mass deception. And that mass deception has gotten so big, it's turned into psychosis for a lot of American citizens. Okay? We've got citizens that have had mental breaks. The folks that are suffering TDS, it's not because they're bad people. It's because they're passionate people, and they've been deceived to the point where they can't even think logically. They blindly hate this man because they've been programmed to do so. So not only are we fighting, foreign enemies, domestic enemies that are in our own government, but we're fighting our own citizens who are brainwashed. It's not a fun thing to be in, but hey, God assigned you this job for a reason. Okay? You get to wake up the rest of this nation. And we're going to save this republic. I'll tell you all that right now. We are going to save it because we are going to decide to save it. Period. I think Bannon says, what, if you want it to be saved, it'll be saved. Okay. That's exactly what's going to happen. We're saving it. Period. No matter what. All right. So hopefully we get some slides here. All right. Let me get over here. Again, that computer guy thing. Okay. I usually have everything set up a little bit more in advance here. All right. Let's see what we got this here. You cannot win a war if you don't know you're in one. You can't win a war if you don't know the goals of your enemy. You can't win a war if you don't know the tactics of your enemy. You can't win a war if you don't know the tools of your enemy. You can't win a war if you have no strategy. And you cannot win a war if you have inferior weapons. So, it's time to step it up a little bit. We are in a war. I told you about this book. There they are. There's the series. 1, 2, and 3. Grab them. Okay. And all right. Come on, quick. Coffee. I told you I was going to go quick today. Come on. Okay, you got 3 seconds left. 1, 2, 2.5, 3. Okay, good. All right. Election manipulation. It's an entire process. It's not just the machines. Okay. They got bribery, blackmail, threats. That's old school. They have political manipulation, mainstream media, social media manipulation, technological manipulation, big tech, public education, then selection placement, where they pick the people they want to put in office and throw them in office, or at least try to, like Victor Marks in Colorado, the fake candidate. Hey, Victor. Technological manipulation is what I'm going to focus on here. And I'm going to go very, very quickly because I have very short time. 4 main components of our election system: voter registration, voter validation, tabulation, and reporting. Voter registration controls the number of ballots in circulation. The voter validation controls which of those ballots get counted. Tabulation controls how those ballots get counted. That's really important because that's like Ed Sullivan's work. And the reporting system controls the totals that we all see. If any one of those 4 legs are manipulated, not in our control, we can't trust the results at the end. And right now, we have no control of all 4 of them. But I know how to get them all back. I have a plan. And I'm starting to work on that. There are 3 main places elections are abusable in the technological component. In the voting itself, pre-county, at county, and post-county. Those are your 3 main areas. The pre-county, they've set up a feedback loop where they can monitor the results of the election without even knowing what's on the ballots. And I'm going to go through that process here in a second. They've built a very brilliant, covert way to do it. It's very subtle, sleight of hand, and once you see, you'll say, oh my gosh, how did we not see that? They've developed this, and they use it to know what the results are. If they know what the results are, and they know what they want them to be, it's a simple subtraction, and all they have to do is stuff in the phantom ballots to counter the real votes, and boom, they can manipulate it. And the beauty of this way is they do it before the ballots get to the county. So your county officials, your good, honest county officials, won't know this is happening. They have no way to find out if it's happening unless they really start digging. But they don't dig because other people are responsible for all these systems. And when they try to start digging, they get Tina Peter. Okay, that's the problem. God bless Tina Peters. Is Tina Peters here? She in the bathroom? All right, there we go. God bless this woman. Okay? Not one, and I think we maybe will get her out of here. to wave or something. Not one other clerk has stood up in the entire nation. Any other election official, any clerk has stood up to this demonic force like Tina Peters has stood up to it. I mean, can you imagine, could you do that? Could you fight this machine, this Goliath, almost by yourself, when the entire weight of them is crushing you? Still stand strong. When they crush you down to almost nothing and then give you an out and say, if you just apologize and say you're wrong, we'll let you off everything. And you don't take that, and you tell them where they can shove it, that takes courage. That right there, Tina Peters has more courage in her pinky than most every other American has in their entire body, I can tell you that. And I can see why she's raised a Navy SEAL. Remington. At the county is a tabulation system. Okay? If you have bad actors at the county, they can manipulate your elections. If you've got bad clerk or bad election officials, they can manipulate it, you'll never see it. They know exactly how to do it, they've got a bunch of different ways to do it. If the voting system vendor or one of the contractors wants to manipulate the election under the nose of your election officials, they can do it too inside the tabulators, inside that tabulation system, the EMS system that Martine talked about. They can do it there too. And in fact, I happen to know Tina Peters fairly well because I'm Tina Peters' lead forensic guy. So those voting system images, I was the one that first examined them and was the first one on the team. Mason County Reports 1 and 2 were my work and Doug Gould's work. So I know it extremely well. Let me ask you guys, thank you. Show of hands, how many people have seen inside this system the Tina Peters image? How many of you have seen that? Raise your hand. Seen my demo of it? Oh, okay. I guess I'm gonna do it then. All right, I'm gonna veer off. And we're gonna do that here in just a second. Okay, Post County. After your election officials conduct the election, they've got to get the results off this system. And then they got to take those results and they got to somehow get it to the next phase. You know, at the end of the night, it shows up on TV, right? Election night. Have you ever wondered, how does your ballot, from after you fill the choices out, how does it get from the point you fill your choices out to show up on the TV screen on a ticker? Right? I felt really stupid in November 2020 when I first thought about that. Gosh, I have no idea how that works. And I figured people there, when I was working out in DC, I was called to go out there. None of them knew the answer either. They had little bits and pieces of it. And then I started talking to election officials. They didn't know the answer. Can you imagine conducting an election and not knowing the flow of the votes all the way through it? I'm that kid. When I was a little kid and I had a tool set, I took everything apart in the house because I like to know how every little thing works. I understand that that's not normal. So that's okay. That's just the way my brain works. A lot of people argue how elections are stolen. It's D, all of the above. Stop arguing. It's ballots, it's tabulators, it's this, it's that. It's all of it. They do it all, and they pick and choose what part they want to use everywhere. It's really, really easy. And they want to do that on purpose because they don't want people to see the patterns. They're not stupid. Election math. Virtual voter registrations plus virtual votes equals what?
A virtual election.
Virtual results, right? If you have virtual registration records, like some fake registration records, and they're putting fake votes in, even mixed in with real stuff, you're still gonna get fake results, right? Virtual results equals virtual freedom. Our freedom is a facade if we don't have elections that 100% accurately, verifiably, and transparently reflect our will, period. So we have two groups, psychological contrast here. We have Group A, the citizens, who feel elections are a tool to measure the will of the people, for them to determine who they want to represent them and what laws they want to follow. Group B, the other guys, are the criminals. You have to know your enemy. KYE, know your enemy. Corrupt elections, they look at it totally differently. They look at elections as a tool to obtain and maintain power, launder money, and control laws in a covert manner without the citizens figuring it out. We think elections are a patriotic way to represent our will. They think elections are a way to steal. We're not the same. We are very different, and you have to understand that. We are not up against people that are a little confused. We are not up against people who are really trying to make sure voting's accessible to all. That's the bullshit, okay? And of course we want to make voting accessible to all as long as we do not open up any risk that someone could manipulate it that would end up disenfranchising the very people we are trying to make voting accessible to. Because otherwise that's kind of insane, right? Of course. Corrupt elections are a tool that will destroy America. And Group B is actually communists. And corrupt elections are the communist sleight of hand, and we are living through that right now. That's exactly what is happening to this nation. And communists come in a lot of flavors and colors. They want to destroy this nation. They want to destroy what this nation was founded on. They don't want people to be free, right? Collectivism versus individualism, right? America's based on individualism, not collectivism. Let's see, we had 36. All right, we're doing okay here. I'll go through this, of course, super quick because that's the way I roll. In a normal election, you know how a normal election works, so I'm not going to bother, but can you imagine between collecting the ballots and tabulating the ballots, what if I had that ballot box off to the side and Bob and Mary are running for an election, okay? Let's say Bob and Mary are running for each other. I'm on Team Mary. I pull the ballot box off to the side, interrupting the process. No one knows I have it. And if I wanted Mary to win, what could I do? I could open that box up, I could count all those ballots, and I could see how many votes Mary's shy, right? If Mary's shy by 10 votes, what could I do? I could stuff in 10 votes for Mary, right? I could take out some Bob votes. I could do a little from column A and a little from column B too, right? I could swap the ballots, right? You kind of want to swap them if you're stealing it, if you're a bad guy, because if you add votes, you take them out, then the numbers of ballots change, and then, you know, the citizens, the peasants, we're told, we'll just check the numbers, make sure the totals are the same, like the number of pieces of paper. Like if you have 10 people that walked in to vote, you should have 10 ballots, right? And we're told if that matches, everything else is fine. That's how stupid they think we are. So the bad guys are just going to swap the ballots out. The other thing they could do is fill in undervotes. If you don't like Bob or Mary and you're voting on that ballot, and you leave them both blank, you just left a free vote for someone. So if they get their hands on that ballot, they could fill out a free vote for Bob or Mary on your ballot without having to do any work. Just fill in an oval and it's done. Don't leave undervotes on your ballots, please. Not a good idea. Now, if they have a little problem here, because what if Mary is not very popular? What if no one likes Mary? And they're going to steal the election for Mary. Would anyone believe that? That Mary legitimately won? They probably wouldn't believe it. But if they have control of the media, what they'll do is they'll condition the public to believe the result before the election. So what they'll do, if I'm a bad guy, I'm going to do some puff pieces on Mary, and I'm going to do some hit pieces on Bob. That's how you do it in the media, right? So you do some hit pieces on Bob. You say, Bob is under investigation for walking around and littering in City Park. Threw trash everywhere. He's under investigation. Then you're going to do another one a week later. And you're going to say, Bob is now under investigation while he was walking around in City Park. Someone saw him kick a cat. Like a football, kicked a cat. And then the next week I'm going to do a little puff piece on Mary. I'm going to say Mary got together a team of people, went to City Park, and they all picked up trash to clean up the city. And then a few days later, there's going to be a big story. Mary, while she was there in the park, heard a little meow. And she looked up, and there was a cat somehow that got stuck in a tree. No one knows how the cat got there, but they think it was Bob. And Mary climbed up the tree all by herself and rescued that kitten. Isn't Mary amazing? Then they steal the election for Mary, right? But what if they still can't get people to believe it enough? Well, then they got to have a great big campaign rally, right? So they have a rally for Mary, but no one shows up because no one really likes Mary, right? So then what they got to do is they say, well, we got to make people believe Mary's popular, so let's use AI and we'll fake a big audience. So they fake a great big audience, and then everyone knows it's AI because everyone's wearing the same shirt and their faces are all the same. And so we call that off because we're getting too smart for that game. Then after that, they say, well, we got to get real people there. So they go on Craigslist and they put ads and they try to hire people to come in, pay them $10 an hour to stand there. And they bring the buses in, but then they still can't find people to come in because Mary is such an idiot. No one would ever believe that anyone would vote for her. So then what do? They pick up their phone. Hey, Beyonce, can you come to an event here? Beyonce says, yeah, sure, I'll be there. Perfect, great. Then they advertise that Beyonce's coming to this Mary campaign rally, and then everyone shows up. Are they there to see Mary or Beyonce?
Beyonce.
Probably Beyonce, right? So they all show up to see Beyonce. Then, of course, Beyonce can't sing, because if Beyonce sings, it's a campaign contribution, right? They can't have that. So then everyone's like, well, why didn't she sing? She just showed up. Because it was to lure the people there to get the photo shoot. What's Mary's real name? Kamala Harris. Yeah, you just lived through that. And if you look back at previous elections, you'll realize they've been doing this to us for a long time. There's a reason why the people that have been doing this bought all the media. They bought the media to have control over what the people see. And if you control what people see, you can control what they think. And if you control what they think, you can control what they do. These people are disgusting, what they have done. Now, third order election manipulation works a little bit differently, and this is what mostly is going on now. That I told you I was going to explain that feedback loop to you. Here it is. So they start with staging operation. They use the FBI, DHS, CIA, and CISA, and of course mainstream media as propaganda tools because they've taken over a lot of those agencies. I'm sure there are good people there, but they have infiltrated those agencies and taken them over. And hopefully they're getting cleaned out now. I don't know if they are. I'm happy to help. If anyone good is there, I'm more than happy to help you guys out. Then they tell us election officials are under attack. They do that to create an artificial wedge between election officials and the citizens because they don't want the election officials siding with the citizens. Because if the election officials start asking the same questions, then they'll figure it out much quicker because they have more access. So they had to do that early on to create that wedge to get the election officials on their side. A lot of them will use the county clerks associations, National Association, Secretary of State. All these different associations are control mechanisms to keep people in the dark and control that group of people. They'll tell us to expect delays in the results. Why are they going to say that? Because there's going to be delays in the results. Because they're cheating and it takes some time to clean everything up. And if they just cheat and there's delays without telling us to condition us that there's going to be delays, we're going to say, wait a minute, what's the delay for? But if they condition all the peasants and tell them that you're going to see delays, you're going to see delays, you're going to see delays, then when there are delays, you can say, oh yeah, they've been saying that. This is what they're doing to us. They'll also tell us the elections are the gold standard. In my state, Jenna Griswold, that crazy loon, who's running, by the way, of course, right? Totally crooked Secretary of State is running for Attorney General. I mean, this is the bizarre world we live in, but that's what corrupted elections allow them to do. Because all they have to do is get on the ballot, they rig the election, boom, they're in. That's it. It's the full takeover. And they're going full throttle now. So she told everyone in Colorado that Colorado's elections are the gold standard. Well, as I start traveling around, I go to another state and they say, well, our elections are the gold standard. I said, well, wait a minute. Your elections can't be the gold standard because our elections are the gold standard in Colorado. They said, no, we're told our elections are the gold standard. So we're going to have a fight about, it's not gold standard. It's elections are the fool's gold standard. And I'm tired of being a fool. And I hope you are too. We're done with this. They use the logic and accuracy test to create a false sense of accuracy. That's what they give our clerks. And I'll tell you, most clerks are good, honest, patriotic Americans that are trying to do their best they can. They are trapped. They are trapped by corrupt people in positions of power. And they're threatened, they're coerced, they're lied to, they're deceived, and they think all the citizens hate them because they've been programmed that way. And a few of them finally break through. Obviously, Tina Peters is the exception. She made it right through right from the beginning. And there's a few others, they're just too scared to say anything. I've been traveling all around the nation. I've been to probably almost 45 states so far. There are election officials that have told me, Mark, I know there's problems. I'm too afraid to say anything. I don't want to get Tina Peters. I have a family, I have a wife, or I have a husband. I just can't do it, I can't do it, I'm not strong enough. I've heard people say that. Can you imagine how disgusting that is? Not for them to say it, but for them to have to say it. For them to be put in that position, to feel threatened that they can't talk about the truth. In the United States of America, they can't talk about the truth. They can't even ask questions. And their job is to help conduct those elections for the American people. And they're not even allowed to do their job because these criminals won't let them. I'm not angry at all, as you can tell. They subtly raise the margin of human error. They conduct the manipulated election. They design the risk limiting audit to minimize the error detection. They've engineered the audit to not find the manipulation. They're engineered audits. People do not understand that. And there's many different ways they do it, but they all do the same thing. They don't find the fraud. And they're made that way to confuse everyone, make them think, well, there's no problem. We did the RLA. Don't bother counting the dots on the piece of paper. What we're going to do is you're just going to hope and pray, and then we're going to do all this other stuff to make you feel good about it. When, of course, we could just count the dots, right? Because they're right there. They're literally right there. No, you can't count the dots. We're going to do all this other crap to try to convince you everything's right, that the dots are right. It would be stupid. You're too dumb to count dots on a piece of paper, peasants. If I hand you a stack of paper and said, count the dots on the paper, you just sit there and stare at it, right? I'm pretty sure anyone in this room could do it.
I was going to say, Mark, July 5th of last year, with him and the great Shelby Bush, we had 12 to 17-year-old kids do it faster than the adults with 100% accuracy. And they go, the machines are hard, this is easy.
And the kids did it with about 5 minutes of watching the adults do it. They didn't have instructions. They watched over the shoulders of the adults. They figured it out on their own, went and did it, 12 to 17 years old. They nailed it, 100% accurate, 2 minutes quicker than the adults that have been traveling all over Arizona training people for a year. Of course, kids can see and hear, so that kind of helps too. Kids are very good at doing that. They condition the gullible to trust the risk-limiting audits. They've got everyone thinking the RLA is the best thing in the world. In different states, they call it slightly different things, okay? Post-election audit, RLA, it's all the same crap. They explain any mistakes they do find as isolated human error. So if you're lucky enough to find a mistake, they'll say, oh, it was just a glitch. Like, it's an election oopsie. They make so many election oopsies, it's pretty incredible. But when you're in the county, and you only see an oopsie in your county, and you don't see all the other oopsies in all the other counties like I do as I travel all around, you don't really understand what you're looking at. But when you see oopsie, 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 it looks a little bit like crap. Then they claim if you do find a bunch of mistakes, they'll tell you this. Well, all the mistakes, it wouldn't change the results of the election, so we're not going to bother investigating, right? You'll hear that a lot. It's below the margin of loss, so we're not going to bother investigating. Then they create headroom. They removed the citizenship question off the census. You remember that many years ago? We couldn't figure out why they removed that question. Like, do you really think people are breaking into our country to fill out the census? Do you remember any of the riots from all the illegals that were breaking in, demanding to fill the census out? Do you guys remember those riots? The year of what? Nothing, because it didn't effing happen? Because people aren't breaking into the country and demanding to fill out the census? Hey, I broke into the country. Can I have some paperwork to tell you who I am and where I'm at? Give me a break. They removed the question to create a census that's now unverifiable, to be able to inflate the census. Can you have 2,000 people registered to vote if you only have a population of 1,000? Nope. And if you're stuffing a bunch of voter registration records in to create headroom in order to manipulate the election, you can't have more voters than you have population. So first you have to inflate the census, inflate the population to create headroom, so you can then inflate the voter registration records. And there's a number of different ways they creatively do that so they don't get caught, or they have plausible deniability on, oh, it was a typo, and oh, it was that, no, it was that. Look at Dr. Jerome Corsi's work, absolutely brilliant. Andrew Paquette, Dr. Andrew Paquette is absolutely brilliant as well. He's found and cracked the code like Ed Solomon has in the tabulators. Jerome Corsi and Andrew Paquette cracked the code in the voter registration. People, they have engineered the theft of this nation. In fact, if you go to my website, handcountroadshow.org, and you click on the picture of the RV, you can download a brief I wrote for Jim Jordan, and it's titled, Engineered Theft of a Superpower. And I wrote that for him 2 years ago, and it was handed to him, right to his hands, the day before the weaponization hearings. And my name and number, right in there, not a peep. It was also handed to a lot of other members of Congress. I was a little naive back then. I figured if the right people got this information, they'd say, oh, we're gonna do something about this, but here's the serious story here. They already know. They know elections are manipulated. That's the game they play. It's this team versus this team up there in the club, as George Carlin says, it's a big club and you and I are not in that club, okay? The club plays a cheating game while we all get effed down here. That's what's happening. Democrats, Republicans, Libertarians, I don't care. We are all getting the short end of the stick. We have to understand that this is not a D versus R thing at all. It's not a color thing, it's not a sex thing, it's not a religion thing. It's literally a bunch of criminals who want to control our elections, and the people that need to control the elections. That's it. They've used the mainstream media, social media, and officials to condition the public. They tell us there's going to be record voter registrations, of course, because they're going to stuff a bunch of voter registrations in. So when they stuff all the registrations in, if they just showed up, we'd say, wait a minute, where all those come from? But if they condition the public first, they're really good at doing that. If they condition us first and say, there's record voter registration this year. You see all these voter registration drives all over the place, and you got some tall, skinny, long-haired guy prancing around the whole country, taking in millions of dollars, doing these mass voter registrations. What great cover to stuff the voter rolls everywhere, right? They've taken the voter registration away from the counties. They've outsourced them to NGOs. They have voter pretty much everywhere in every state now, because their goal is just to get as many voter registration records in the system as possible, because that means they can stuff in phantom ballots to counter the real votes. That's that front-end manipulation, the pre-counting manipulation. They're also registering our underage kids to vote, right? They do that because when they turn 18, those records automatically activate. Also, what happens when they're 18? They kind of go off to college, right? So they're not even there at home anymore. So why would you want to get someone pre-registered to vote in a place they won't be at? Unless you just want to stuff those voter rolls as much as possible. That's why they're doing it. They create phantom voters, they create new records or tweak existing. If they tweak existing and just change like a letter or a number, then they can claim it was a typo. So they do that often, you'll see that all the time. They also inhibit pruning of ineligible records. If your dog Fido got registered to vote somehow, and you walked in there with Fido and said, my dog got a ballot, somehow he's on the voter rolls, can you please get him off the voter rolls? That clerk would look at you, all right. That is present, I wish it was. So what they'll do is you'll say, Miss Clerk, Fido is registered to vote somehow. And Miss Clerk would look down and say, well, I can see it's a dog. I see the dog tag says Fido, but unfortunately, according to state law, I have to wait for Fido to not vote in 2 presidential election cycles before I can remove him for the voter rolls. Look at you with a straight face and tell you that. Because our clerks, a lot of them have been so brainwashed or so scared to veer or to say anything, they just follow state law blindly. It's crazy. Feedback loop. Measure, assess, adjust, and act. Here's how this works. Mainstream media, FBI, DHS, CIA, CISA as conditioning tools. They tell us there's going to be record voter participation. Okay? Then the citizens cast their votes. They monitor who votes. Okay? Here's how they do it. If I knew what your party affiliation was, what is it, by the way? You're Republican or Democrat or Libertarian? Right there, you. Republican, okay, all right. So you're Republican. So I would have a pretty good idea of what your ballot's going to look like if I had to guess what you're going to vote, right? I'd be like 90% right. Okay, now what if I had all this other data on you? What if I bought all that free data that's harvested from your cell phone? All your Amazon purchase data, your Visa data, all your tweets, everything about you I got. And if I got all that information, I knew everything about you, then how close would I be on your ballot? About 99.9%, right? I know pretty much every way you're going to vote. So it's very simple to take all this data, build a profile on every single American citizen to know exactly how they're going to vote. They already know what's on the ballot. They got a profile built on you. They just need to know if you have voted. Now, how are they going to know if you voted? Well, if you vote by mail, they built this wonderful system called a mail-in ballot tracking system. And they told all of us they built it for us because, you know, the peasants are stupid. We believe crap like that. And then if they tell us they're going to build it for us, we're going to end up paying for it. And if they get caught building it, they don't really get caught because they told us they were building it. But they didn't build it for our convenience. They built it for their convenience to know when we put a ballot in the mail. And if they know you put a ballot in the mail and they already have a profile on you, they can build a predictive election result model. Do you remember that video we watched a little while ago that talked about predictive modeling? There's your predictive model. They build a predictive election result model just by knowing you have deposited a ballot in the mail. And if you show up in person to vote, you get checked in on an electronic poll book. When you get checked in on that electronic poll book, they know immediately you showed up in person to vote. And so it doesn't matter whether you vote by mail or you vote in person, they know you're there and they can fortify their predictive election result model. If they know what the results of the election are in their model and they know what they want them to be, all they have to do is subtract, and they know exactly what ballots and what needs to be on those ballots as they stuff them in to counter your votes. It's really easy. How are they going to do that? Oh, mail-in ballots. Amazing. Because a received mail ballot, nobody has any idea who filled that ballot out. It doesn't matter what's on the signature. It doesn't matter if the signature's perfect. How do you know who filled out the ballot inside the envelope? How would any election official know who filled out that ballot inside the envelope? The answer is there is no way for anyone to know who filled the ballot out. The signature is a distraction to confuse the peasants. That's all it is. It's a warm fuzzy. It's a false sense of security. It's a facade. Mail-in ballots, the entire security of mail-in ballots, we are told, is the signature verification. It's BS. It's designed improperly from the get-go. It's defective in its design right from the start on purpose. These people are not stupid, they're very intelligent. That's why we can't have mail-in ballots. But if I monitor all that information about you, I can feed my result model, I can calculate what's needed, and I just stuff the votes in. Now, could I do that all in one day? I could not do it in one day. I need a little bit more time to do that. So what am I gonna do? I want to extend the voting period. If I just did that, the peasants would say, no, do not do that. We have election day only. The Constitution says election day. Okay, what they're gonna do is they're gonna say, well, you're all very busy. So for your convenience, what we're gonna do is we're gonna give you a couple days of early voting for your convenience. It's actually for theirs, but they tell us it's for ours. And then 2 days is enough. They start with 3 and then 5 and then, oh, that county has 7 days and that state has 14 days. Do you know some states have 45 days of early voting now? The reason they want the early voting is because it gives them opportunities to get all that information to build their model early enough so they have plenty of time to put those votes in the system. It backfired though, originally. Here's why. Raise your hand if you're a procrastinator. All procrastinators, raise your hand. Okay, everyone that has not raised their hands yet is just procrastinating, so we'll wait. Told you. See, I know things. My gut is always right. Everyone procrastinated. And what would happen is, everyone waited till election day anyway, and it wasn't working for them, so they had to condition the public to vote as early as possible. So what did they do? They took advantage of anything bad that happened on election day, even induced some things on election day, and then they plastered that all over the media to scare everyone blindly to vote as early as possible. Like, if you ask someone suffering TDS, why do you like them? They can't even answer, they just get angry. If you ask someone that votes early, why do you vote early? They can't really answer that either. They come up with like, oh, there could be a snowstorm, or there could be this. They can't really rationalize a real answer. Some people can, but very few. Can we all vote on election day if we want? Yes, absolutely. Most all of us can vote on election day because somehow we did it for like over 150 years. All right, and we have even better transportation these days. I'm pretty sure we can get our butts to go vote. It's all a freaking scam, intelligent people. So they do that, they've got early voting, and then what happens on election day voters? They hate election day voters because they don't get any advance data. When election day voters show up, they have no idea how you're gonna vote or if you're gonna vote. They don't know anything. Then when you show up, they know they can count your vote, but they know only on that day, so what do they have to do? They gotta stuff ballots in after election day, and then they've gotta give you like a week for them to show up because, you know, the US Postal Service, they get surprised every time. They're like, have you ever been driving and all of a sudden like a tree just pops up out of nowhere and you ran right into the tree? Like, that's what happens, I guess, to election day also with USPS. It's like, oh damn, we have an election, just popped up out of nowhere. We weren't ready for it. I'm pretty sure they knew election day was coming, but somehow the US Postal Service, which barely delivers any mail anymore because everyone's emailing, they suddenly just can't get ballots delivered. Every single time. They're just too inundated, too slow to get ballots delivered. That's what they're feeding in the counter for the election day ballots. It's really simple. And if they still can't pull it off, well, they just have their override. It's real simple. They override it, they stop counting in the middle of the night, they feed you results, everyone freaks out, they say, oh, don't worry, those are the unofficial results. Just settle down, everyone. And then they drag it out and drag it out and drag it out, and they put out the official results right before it's got to be certified, so we have no time to actually do anything about it. Because people aren't going to verify the unofficial, they're going to have to wait till the official come out to start verifying, and then, oh, you only have 2 days. They have gamed this entire thing out, and I'm happy to go over in detail how they do this when we meet. Then they shuffle the voter registrations, they backfill any results, they'll backfill paper, they'll delay any potential audits like Maricopa County that took forever, they publish their official results, and then everything matches, magically. All right, I'm not gonna go in, unfortunately, Hyder, you luck out, my friend. We don't have to go into you here. All right, so, we had the Tina Peters thing, I was gonna show you this. Boy, it's tough. All right, can I do this in, I don't want to steal time away for some very important people, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have to not show you the vote flipping right now, but maybe I'll talk to Ed, and I'll see if I can get maybe 10 minutes later on after dinner, or if we have a break, maybe we can squeeze something in, and I will show you all the built-in software on the voting system that allow you to flip the results of the election, okay? Built in, it's really important. I'm just gonna have to do this really quick, screw it. I'll have to do it really quick. We'll take time elsewhere, sorry. It's just too important. I mean, these guys are here, so it has to happen. All right, hold on. I can do it quick, it turns out. Okay, there we go. Look at it, I already screwed up. All right, let's see. There we go. Okay, so let's go here. You're gonna see the world's fastest election flipping extravaganza here. So this is the EMS server, and this is the system that aggregates all the votes. I found SQL Server tools in here, not supposed to be on here. This is a tool built into the voting system, automatically built in, and this is on Tina's image, the before image. Okay, this software should not be on here, but watch what it allows me to do. I don't even have to put a password here. I can just click connect, it goes right into the database. So think about that. Like, don't you think these voting system vendors, you think they might add a password? You know, it might be safer if you add a password to it. You should be able to go into all these elections. Look at this, I go right to the election here. This is the 2020 general election, by the way. And watch this here, I can edit. That means I can make changes to it really easily. And I can actually flip votes. Now I want to show you this. Let's pull the results first of the election, because you won't even know if I actually was able to successfully do it if we don't look at the results. And we'll look at stored procedures, and there we go. Contest results, and we're gonna run this to pull the results of the election there. And here is, run the query. Oh my gosh, 8%. This is quick. This will be quick. Okay, look at that. Biden 31,000, Trump 56,000. Right? Okay, now watch this here. I'm gonna go over here. This is a tool built into the voting system, by the way. Built in. I'm gonna change this number from 1 to a 2. That's all I'm gonna do. And I'm gonna go up here and I'm gonna find Trump. Right there. I'm gonna change that 2 to a 1. I changed 2 numbers, right? Let's run the results again. Watch this. What do you know? Biden 56,000, Trump 31,000. With a tool built into the voting system, I was able to flip the results of that election just now. That's all I needed. That simple. Now, I've got a flash drive right here. See it? Okay, I'm gonna plug this flash drive into my computer right now. And I'm gonna keep my hands up here so you can see I'm not typing this. But this flash drive is a special flash drive. And it is building up another backdoor utility on the voting system that's already built into it, by the way. Oh my gosh. This is gonna be really interesting. I do. I don't know if you can get it in time though. Oh, uh-oh. Don't you love it when computers do stuff that you don't want them to do? All right. Let me see if I can close this without, there we go. Okay, we're gonna try this again. Lenovo, please. Just last, come on battery, pray. Pray to the battery gods, everyone. So it's pulling up the other backdoor utility on here. And what it's gonna do is it's gonna go into the database and it's going to run, it is USB, yeah. I might have got it. Let's see if we got a time. I did? Okay, so it just did it and it disappeared without leaving a trace. Okay, now watch this. We're gonna pull these results again. Okay, contest results, execute stored procedure. I love Patriots, that's great. All right, now we're running. Now watch the results. Look at that, Biden 31,000, Trump 56. It just swapped the results by plugging in a flash drive. Now, everyone here, open up your phones and look for your wireless networks, and you tell me when you see wireless backdoor. Because this little flash drive is not only a keyboard emulator that runs a backdoor that's already on the voting system, but it also is a wireless access point that lets you get right into the voting system to flip the results of the election from wherever you're sitting or outside. Raise your hand, the first person that sees it. There we go. You cannot secure these systems. There is no way, there's nothing you can do to secure the system. And I'm gonna unplug it because I don't want any of you screwing up with my presentation. Okay, I had to show you all that, and there's plenty more I could show you too, but that was really important. Okay, Let me hit a few last things I want to go into. Oh, see, I can never do this in time. Okay, follow me on X, Patriot Mark Cook, very important. And I think I'll do these last ones here. I've been traveling all over the country, by the way, and this is my route on handcountroadshow.org. If you have not signed up for a visit, please sign up, even if it's a remote visit. I need to educate people. There's so much critical information I have to get to the citizens here. Also, I've been helping with South Korea's elections. I got called about a year ago to start looking at South Korea's stuff, and I started looking at it, and I saw the same things that were happening here, the same Swiss cheese election system I saw there too, and I said, oh my gosh, you guys have a problem. It's the same thing's about to happen in South Korea, I guarantee it. Here's what they're doing, here's how they're gonna do it. And then a few months ago, I got a call, I did a presentation remotely. I did another presentation about a month later with a great group of people from South Korea, and we've actually created this little task force, a united task force, and they are coming, right?
You want us down?
Come on down. All right, so we're going to welcome our South Korean friends because they just had a very corrupt election a few days ago, like on 6/3. They had that election, but they listened to the guidance I provided, and they got tons of very valuable data, and they caught them. They caught their elections getting stolen. And these people are amazing heroes. Now, they're in the same boat. They're right now in the 2020 phase. Like, they caught them like we caught them, but now they're fighting their own government, right, that's corrupt. And so Dr. Frank, by the way, I could not go out there. They wanted me to go out before the election. I couldn't make it out because of what I was doing with the roadshow and all this. So Dr. Frank went out on site. So he went and spent about a week or 10 days or something out in South Korea on the ground, going 2 weeks. Going site to site to site, seeing all of it with his own eyes. And if you don't know who Dr. Douglas Frank is, I'm going to let him explain to you the background. How many of you people know who Dr. Frank is? Raise your hand. I'm expecting a room full here. Oh, then you are in for a huge treat. Come on up here, though. All right, we got our friends here. I'm going to let him do the introductions. And I'll jump back in after. I'm going to bring them in. We're going to do a South Korea focus. And I'm going to stay up here because we're going to all talk together, but mostly it's going to be them. And then I'm going to finish up with about a 5-minute closing at the end of that. Let's get the chairs out. Yeah, if you thank you. He's not only is he a brilliant mathematician and an incredible presenter and a hilarious teacher as well, and he can sing. I don't know if you know this, but the man can sing. Maybe he'll grace us with a little bit of something. Come on up, and I'll let him do intros. Let me get a mic here. And he can take a trip to chairs here. There you go. Okay.
Come on up, brother.
Come on, everyone come on